what I'm doing today with this soup is more of a method, although you will get a recipe, okay? And again, just like I was talking about being able to roast pretty much any vegetable, you can make a pureed soup out of pretty much any vegetable, okay? There is a formula that you will see on the blog, but it's about 2 pounds of veggies, about 4 to 6 cups of liquid, whether it's water or stock, and that stock can be homemade, it can be from a can, it can be somewhere in between. It's up to you all. I used a low-sodium veggie bouillon today, which I think I have out somewhere. Nope, I put it up. But you can use whatever you would like. And the sort of key, I don't know, like I said, you can use anything, any vegetable. So sweet potato, Swiss chard, squash, kohlrabi will be today. The only caveat is that you do have to like the flavor of the vegetable, because making a soup out of just that vegetable is not going to do too much to disguise the flavor. I mean, you can add some aromatics like onions and garlic and ginger. You can add a little bit of dairy like yogurt, or non-dairy like coconut milk, which is what I did today, okay? But you can only kind of change it a little bit. You can't really erase the taste of a vegetable, okay? So don't put something in that you really, really don't like. But any texture of vegetable will work, okay? From something like Swiss chard, like I mentioned, or something harder like kohlrabi. It'll just take a little bit longer to cook it. So the essentials, as I mentioned, are just veggies and liquid, okay? Whatever that liquid might be. Plus a little bit of fat is nice, okay? So a little olive oil or butter. Today I used a little bit of olive oil, but not too much because coconut milk is quite heavy in fat. So I didn't want to have like fat floating on the top of the soup, which can sometimes happen. So I just used the coconut milk from that. And this was the coconut milk that I used. You can get this at Kroger, okay? Don't get coconut cream or Coco Loco. All right, Coco Loco is heavily sweetened. It's used in pina coladas. It would probably not be good with kohlrabi. And you do want to use milk, not cream, because you want the liquid. You should be able to shake it and hear liquid in there. Okay, so 2 sort of tips when it comes to coconut milk. After that, once you've got your liquid, your fat, and your veggies, anything is optional. You can use herbs. You can add a little bit of wine. You can add any spices that you like. The spices that I used today are curry powder and cumin, but not heavy on either one of them, okay, because I still want that flavor of the vegetable to come through. I also used aromatics like onion and garlic. And then I did that trick again with adding a little bit of acid, where I added lemon juice to make sure that I was sort of balancing the flavors, okay? When I made this at home for my husband, who just came in, we added a little bit of lime juice because I thought that that went nicely with the coconut milk. And then I sprinkled it with some cilantro. Not going to do cilantro today because I know not everyone loves cilantro, okay? But that would be a nice addition as well. I'm going to pour that out in just a minute, but I do want to show you guys how to work with this kohlrabi, like I said I would, okay? So with the kohlrabi, again, this is what it looks like in case you missed it. I'm going to take the leaves off, and you can just snap them off like this. Or if you're not going to use them, if you're not feeling super adventurous, you can just cut the whole thing off like that, like a broccoli, and just kind of put them aside, okay? You do want to take off the bottom as well. Whenever you're working with something that's round like this, you want to create a nice flat plane to increase the stability once it's on the cutting board. Because if you're not comfortable with your knife, and if you've got a big knife, things start rolling around, it could be ugly, right? So by creating this nice flat surface, it's going to be a lot safer and a lot more stable. And as I mentioned, you are going to want to peel this generally, right? I usually like to cut the peel off because the kohlrabi peel is quite thick. And not all of us have a really good peeler. So try to use the knife if you can. And if you look at it, you can't really see here, but you can see where the peel ends. So just look at it closely, okay? You can tell where the different texture of the kohlrabi is. And it'll be a lot softer, okay? So you just go around. And you are going to lose some of the kohlrabi this way, but it's better than sort of, I don't know, biting down on something that's a little bit unpleasant. Okay, remove any other skin or peel. And then once you've got that, you can cut that up pretty much any way you like. This is what I cut when I gave you guys that raw kohlrabi. What did you guys think about that? Yeah. A little bit like a radish, right? Yeah, I've heard it described as a little radishy, a little turnipy, like broccoli stem. They're all kinds of, but sometimes it can be a little bit of sweet too. So for a soup like this, I would just do it in chunks, okay? Because I'm just going to puree it later anyway, all right? And I will say that if y'all don't have one of these guys, and Greg is laughing at me because he knows how much I love my immersion blender, these are awesome, okay? So you can get them fairly inexpensive. This one is a Cuisinart, but there are lots of different brands. I think this one is really good, though. I've had it for years. Nothing has ever happened with it. You can use it to make smoothies right in a cup. You can use it for soups. You can even use it for pesto. So this makes life really easy if you want to do this pureed soup. If you don't, you can, of course, use a food processor, or you can use a blender. If you are going to use a food processor or blender, though, you want to make sure that you don't do the whole soup at once, because steam builds up, lids pop off, stuff is on the ceiling. It's not pretty, okay? So whenever you're doing a soup, do it in batches. Put a towel over the lid, and you'll be safe, and everything will be fine, okay? So this soup here, again, didn't take super long. It's going to depend on the vegetable that you've pureed, okay? I realize that to some, the color may not be your favorite, but I promise it tastes good. All right. And you can just focus on how cute the cups are. So this would be a really nice lunch to bring with you, especially if you put it in a mason jar or something with a tight-fitting lid. You can actually eat it chilled or warm. You might have to get into, yeah. You'll see that it has the texture similar to like a potato soup, like a smooth potato soup, something like that. You can also add something like beans if you wanted to add chickpeas in there whole. You could float some herbs on top. You could add some croutons in there if you wanted a little bit more texture, okay? But this is a really easy way to use just any vegetable, as I mentioned, particularly the kohlrabi if you're looking for something a little bit more creative than eating it raw, okay? What do you guys think? It's good, right? Yeah, so again, this is non-dairy, right? I just used the coconut milk. If you wanted to use heavy cream, you could. If you wanted to use yogurt, you could. You could also put in a little bit of butter for extra richness, but it's really up to you.